brotherhood. Without affection and without love, fraternity, it becomes a facade. But with affection, fraternity becomes substantial. And now he's speaking in Spanish. To conclude, dear Brother Pope Francis, expressing myself in your own language, the path that you've marked out for us in Laudato Si depends on universal brotherhood, and fraternal brotherhood is an objective which must that has to be worked out every day, so that we are constantly moving toward fraternity. And please, Holy Father, we love you. We pray very much for your health, for your happiness and your joy. We are awaiting the time when we may be able to embrace each other, because an embrace is much stronger, because it's the expression of our hearts and of our passion. And it's an expression of our common project. Thank you very much, Pope Francis. We've been hearing from Carlos Petrini, who's one of the founders of the Laudato Si movement, along with the Bishop of Rieti, Domenico Pompili. And these communities were founded on a dialogue. Carlo Petrini is not Catholic. He's a social protagonist and founder of Slow Foods here in Italy. And together, these two founded these communities that are working throughout Italy and are now beginning to found themselves in Brazil in order to make a difference at the local level in issues of the environment. We now hear from our Holy Father.
Cari fratelli e sorelle.
Dear brothers and sisters, good day.
Vi do il benvenuto.
I welcome you.
E salutando voi desidero raggiungere.
And in greeting you, I wish to reach all the members of the Laudato Si communities in Italy and throughout the world.
Ringrazio Signor Carlo Petrini.
I thank Carlo Petrini.
Nella mia lingua paterna, non materna.
In my father language rather than mother tongue.
Posto come centro propulsore di ogni vostra iniziativa, l'ecologia integrale.
You have placed the integral ecology proposed by the encyclical Laudato Si as the driving force behind all your initiatives. Integral, because we are all creatures and everything in creation is related. Everything is related. Rather, I would like to say everything is harmonious. Even the pandemic has demonstrated this. The health of humanity cannot be separated from that of the environment in which we live. It is also clear that climate change not only upsets the balance of nature, but also causes poverty and hunger, afflicting the most vulnerable, and sometimes forcing them to leave their home. The neglect of creation and social injustices influence each other. It may be said that there is no ecology without equality, and there's no equality without ecology.
Voi siete motivati a prendervi cura degli ultimi e del creato, insieme. E volete farlo sull'esempio di San Francesco di Assisi, con mitezza, laboriosità.
You are motivated to take care of the least among us and of creation, and you choose to do so following the example of St. Francis of Assisi with meekness and industrious. And I renew my appeal for a commitment to safeguarding our common home. This task concerns everyone, especially those responsible for nations and productive activities.
le cause degli sconvolgimenti climatici in atto. Non bastano impegni generici, parole.
We need the genuine will to tackle the root causes of the climate upheavals that are happening. Generic commitments are not enough, and one cannot look only as far as the immediate consent of one's voters or investors. We must look far ahead. Otherwise, history will not forgive us. We need to work today for everyone's future. Young people and the poor will hold us to account. And I'd like to take a phrase from the martyr and theologian Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Our challenge today is not how we can get out of this. The real challenge is how it will be the life of the future generation. We need to think about that. Dear friends, now I would like to share with you two key words of integral ecology: contemplation and compassion. Contemplation. Today, the nature that surrounds us is no longer admired or contemplated, but devoured. We have become voracious, dependent on immediate profit and results at any cost. Our outlook on reality is increasingly more rapid. Our reality is increasingly more rapid, distracted, superficial, while news and forests are burnt in a short time. Sickened by consumption, we are eager to have the latest app, but no longer do we know the names of our neighbors, much less how to distinguish one tree from another. And what is more serious, we lose our roots with this lifestyle. We lose our gratitude for what there is and for who gave it to us. So as not to forget, we must return to contemplation, so as not to be distracted by 1,000 useless things. We must find silence. For the heart not to become sick, we must be still. It is not easy. It is necessary, for example, to free ourselves from the imprisonment of the mobile phone, to look into the eyes of those who are next to us and the creation that has been given to us. To contemplate is to gift oneself with time to be silent, to pray, to restore harmony, the healthy balance between head, heart, and hands, between thought, feeling, and action. Contemplation is the antidote to hasty, superficial, and inconclusive choices. Those who contemplate learn to feel the ground that sustains them, to understand that they are not alone and without meaning in the world. They discover the tenderness of God's gaze and understand that they are precious. Everyone is important in God's eyes. Everyone can transform a part of the world polluted by human veracity into the good reality willed by the Creator. Those who know how to contemplate do not remain with their hands in their pockets, but instead find something tangible to do. Contemplation leads to action. Here then is the second word: compassion.
Come si capisce che uno è contemplativo?
Compassion is the fruit of contemplation. How is it understood that someone is contemplative? If someone has assimilated God's outlook? If someone has compassion for others, it's not saying, oh, that hurts me. It means I feel passion for another. If someone goes beyond excuses and theories in order to see others as brothers and sisters, to be protected. This is what Carlo Petrini said at the end about fraternity. This is the proof. Because this is what God's gaze does, who despite all the evil we think and do, always sees us as his beloved children. He does not see individuals, but sons and daughters. He sees us as brothers and sisters of a single family living in the same house. We are never strangers in his eyes. His compassion is the opposite of our indifference. Indifference is that, permit me the word that's a bit vulgar, it's I don't care, that enters into the heart and mentality, and that ends with let them fend for themselves. Compassion is the opposite of indifference, and this applies to us too. Our compassion is the best vaccine against the epidemic of indifference. It has nothing to do with me. It's not up to me. It does not concern me. These are the symptoms of indifference. There's a photograph, I've said it other times. There's a beautiful photograph taken by a Roman photographer in the Apostolic Almoner's office. It's it's a shot outside of a restaurant, a luxurious restaurant, with a gentleman outside with gloves, and he's well protected from the cold, and it's obvious that he ate well. It's not a sin to eat well. And at the door there's a woman with a cane. She's dressed badly, and you can tell that she feels cold. She's homeless. With the hand, and he's making a gesture with his hand open. And another woman who comes out of the restaurant looks away from her, and the photograph is titled Indifference. When I saw it, I called the photographer to say, your photograph is really great, and I want to put it in the almoner's office as an image of indifference.
Passa dal di te non mi importa al tu sei importante.
Those who have compassion instead pass from you do not matter to me to you are important to me.
Però la compassione non è un bel sentimento.
However, compassion is not just a nice sentiment. It's not pietism. It is creating new bonds with others and taking responsibility for them, like the Good Samaritan who, moved by compassion, takes care of the unfortunate man he doesn't even know. The world needs this creative and active charity of people who do not stay in front of a screen commenting, but of people who are willing to get their hands dirty to remove degradation and restore dignity. Having compassion is a choice. It is choosing to have no enemies, so as to see everyone as a neighbor. And this is a choice.
Questo non vuol dire diventare molli.
This does not mean becoming weak and giving up the fight. Rather, those who have compassion enter into a daily struggle against rejection and waste, discarding others, and discarding things, wasting. It hurts to think of how many people are discarded without compassion: the elderly, children, workers, persons with disabilities.
Ma è scandaloso anche lo spreco delle cose.
Wasting things is also scandalous.
Ha documentato che nei paesi industrializzati
The FAO has documented
più di un miliardo di tonnellate di cibo commestibili.
The FAO has documented that
Questa è la realtà.
in 1 year, more than 1 billion tons of edible food is thrown away in industrialized countries. This is the reality. Together, let us help each other to fight against rejection and waste. Let us demand political decisions that combine progress and equality, development and sustainability for everyone, so that no one be deprived of the land we inhabit, the good air we breathe, the water we have the right to drink, and the food we have the right to eat.
Sono certo che I membri di ogni
I am sure that the members of every one of your communities will not settle to live as spectators, but will always be meek and determined protagonists in building the future for all. And all this is what builds fraternity.
Lavorare come e da fratelli.
To work as brothers, constructing universal fraternity. This is the moment.
Questa è la sfida di oggi.
This is today's challenge.
Vi auguro di alimentare la contemplazione.
My wish for you is that you may nourish contemplation and compassion, indispensable ingredients of integral ecology. Thank you again for your presence and for your commitment. I thank you for your prayers. And for those of you who pray, I ask you to pray. For those of you who do not pray, at least send me good vibes. I need it. I need it. And today I would like to ask God to bless each one of you, to bless each one of your hearts, whether believer or unbeliever, whether from a religious tradition or whatever religious tradition, that God might bless all of you. Amen. Our Holy Father, now having finished his discourse in this audience today with the Laudato Si community present here in Italy, a movement that has come out of the dialogue between an unbeliever who we saw earlier, Carlo Petrini, and the Bishop of Rieti, now moving at the local levels in order to create dialogue but also action regarding caring for our common home. As we see, our Holy Father has begun to meet with groups in the Vatican this morning prior to meeting with the Laudato Si, these members of the community. I believe they number about 250 people. Yes, about 250 people are here today, representing about 35 of the 50 Laudato Si communities. And these communities, their reference point is the encyclical Laudato Si. That's what binds their work together. And they try to understand the needs of the local level through listening. And then they apply the principles of Laudato Si. It's not the other way around, according to their website. Here, our Holy Father shaking the hands of Carlo Petrini, and I believe the prelate with him is Bishop Domenico Pompili of Rieti. Rieti being the Diocese of Amatrice, where a huge earthquake took place in 2018. This morning, as I was saying, our Holy Father met with another group. He met with the family members of those who were killed at a nightclub in Corinaldo in 2018. It happened on the evening of the 8th of December, 2018. 6 people were killed in a stampede that took place at the nightclub on that day. And our Holy Father prayed for the victims of that tragedy the day after. He said today to the group that he thanked them for coming and that he shares their grief. And he said, I remember that when the tragedy occurred, I was shaken by it. Our Holy Father now greeting the people who are here, and he'll continue to do so. And with this, we leave you now from this live broadcast of the audience of Pope Francis with participants in the meeting of the Laudato Si communities. We will be back tomorrow at midday for Pope Francis' Angelus message, and he will recite that traditional prayer as well with members of the faithful gathered in St. Peter's Square. That begins at 12 o'clock local Rome time. We also encourage you to visit the Vatican News web portal, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube accounts, where you'll find coverage of today's audiences, as well as coverage of other Vatican and world news. On behalf of Vatican Media, I'm Sister Bernadette. It's been my pleasure to provide you with today's translations. Those of you joining us through Catholic TV, Shalom World TV, EWTN, Salt and Light TV, Catholic Faith Network, and Luminous Radio. Thank you so much for joining us. Laudetur Jesus Christus. Praised be Jesus Christ.
looking for life-changing entertainment? Does what you see on most channels leave you feeling unfulfilled? Well, look no further. Shalom World TV brings